This summer so far has been absolutely brutal. And if there's anything that I have repeated over and over again, it is to limit outdoor activity and just try to stay inside when you can, to stay out of that dangerous heat. But the thing is, not everybody can do that. Sometimes it's your job to work outdoors and to be out in the elements. And I thought I would share a few things that I've come across, a few tips for working outdoors and keeping yourself safe and healthy and as comfortable as possible when you're out in those conditions. The first thing, obviously, stay hydrated, right? You want to make sure that you have plenty of water, okay, plenty of cold water, but you don't want it to be too terribly cold, okay? The thing is that if you have really, really, really cold water after you've been in the heat for a long time, that can kind of shock your system a little bit, right? So you want to make sure that you have water. You want it to be cool, but not too terribly cold, right? You want to be careful with that, but overall, you want to make sure that you stay hydrated. And don't stop when you leave the job site, right? You want to make sure that you're hydrating all the time, around the clock. Make sure you're hydrating in the morning before you go, through the day, and after. Because you want your system to be circulating hydration efficiently all through that period. If you just start right when you get there, you're already behind, right? So you want to make sure that you make it a habit, make it a good habit to stay hydrated all the time. Protect your skin. So there's a couple of things to mention here. Obviously, there's sunscreen, right? That's one thing. The other thing I would mention is that a lot of the time when you see these folks working outside, they're wearing long sleeves, and you may think that's crazy. Not really. It's not really that insane, because if you're wearing loose, light, long sleeves, that's protecting you from the sun, right? You're not going to get sunburned when you're covered. So the trick is, of course, to make sure it's not something too heavy, make sure it's loose fitting so that it breathes more. But sometimes those longer sleeves can be helpful because, number one, you don't have to keep up with sunscreen all day. And two, it's just better coverage overall. Eat light, cool foods, especially fruits. So this is something that I learned from Steve Rainey over at Synergy Roofing. We were out running around one day, and I was talking to him about how roofers, they work all parts of the year. So they're working out in that heat. And I asked him, how in the world do they handle that? Not only being in the elements, but, I mean, you're working on a roof, right? It's hot up there. How do these guys do it? And he said they eat a lot of fruit, like cantaloupe and watermelon and those kind of things that are hydrating, right? And they're usually cool and that kind of thing. So you want to make sure that you're eating cooler foods. That's just more to kind of help cool you down, regulate that body temperature. And then those fruits are going to contain, they're going to hydrate you in their own way. So that's another thing when you have, snacks with you or your lunch or whatever, make sure it's light. You don't want to have anything too heavy on your stomach. Make sure it's cool again, and especially those fruits that can help hydrate you through the day. Take regular breaks. Man, I am terrible at this. I have this bad habit, you can ask my wife, where I get into a job and I get into a project and I am really, really in it, and I forget to do any manner of things, right? I get so hyper-focused that I forget to kind of give my mind, or my body in that case, whatever is going on, a break. I have to force myself to stop. Take regular breaks when you're in the heat because you can't last that long out there. You want to make sure you're giving your body that chance to recuperate after you've been in the heat. I talked to a close friend of mine who was working in an attic and on a 104-degree day. And he said they would do a brief time in, then a time out, then time in, then time out, and they would rotate on a regular basis, being in that attic and then in the air conditioning, so that it wasn't too frequent or too erratic. They took regular breaks so that they weren't overdoing it. You want to make sure you do that, and if you don't, unfortunately, you're not going to be well, which is why you have to listen to your body. Make sure you're listening to your body. If you don't, you're not going to catch it when you have symptoms of heat exhaustion or heat stroke or these kind of things coming on. Your body's going to tell you when something is wrong. Your body's going to tell you probably pretty far in advance that, hey, I'm not feeling good, something's not right. play it safe, listen to your body. When something doesn't seem right, make sure you take care of those things as you're going. The last thing is to have an emergency plan and use the buddy system, okay? Have an emergency plan. So I would say have an emergency contact. Maybe make sure someone that you're working with has someone they can contact if something does happen to you. And, have that plan for, okay, well, we're here, something happens, take me here, that kind of thing. Just have a plan in place, because when something happens, you're nervous, you're anxious, time is a factor. You don't want to have to be figuring all this stuff out. And have a buddy system. So don't work by yourself in the heat, because if you do that, something happens to you, you probably are not able to call for help. You want to make sure that there's someone else there who can do that, and that someone else can, again, call your emergency contact or take you to the hospital or call 911, whatever is needed at that time. Odds are something happens to you, you're not going to be able to take those extra steps, or worst case scenario, someone to administer CPR or these kind of things when, in the time that you're waiting for the proper folks to arrive. So these are just a few things. This is, scratching the surface, I'm sure, but this is a topic that I've thought about a lot since I started this segment. And because, again, I know people that are working outside. I see them, I hear from them. And since I had some kind of things come across, things that people have mentioned to me, I thought I would bring those to you as well. Hey, if you've been working outdoors for a long time, you've got this down to a science, right? But I know that there's some folks that this may be their first really intense summer working outside. So you may still be kind of figuring this stuff out. What I'll love is if you guys, especially you veterans out there, if you'll put in the comments, what have you learned? What tricks and things have you learned to allow you to stay healthy and stay relatively comfortable, right? In the heat and in the elements when you're out there getting a job done. So put those things in the comments and share with each other and educate each other, because there's been a lot of comments that have said, hey, it's Texas, it's hot, big whoop. This is a record-breaking summer, okay? We've had several days in a row now, since July 4th to now, when we've been breaking records every day, okay? And it's not normal to have these long stretches of 100-plus degree days. So we're used to heat in Texas, but it is still dangerous. And it's still worth putting this information out there. So whether it's Texas or not, whether it's summer or not, put those things in the comments and help somebody out. Help somebody kind of get a better understanding of how they can keep themselves safe and healthy. And if you're considering taking a job outdoors, look at these things and consider these things if this is the kind of plan or the kind of rigmarole you can afford to do going forward. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.